Welcome to another fantastic time on The Angles, where hot topics are being discussed. My name is Mary Ibeji, and if you're just tuning in, you're right on time. So you do me a favor, you tell someone that The Angles, yes, the favorite show at LXP, is live right now. And we're ready to dissect another hot topic, of which I know that you are pretty much interested in. Now, you know, in a world where experience is king, but knowledge still opens doors, right? So we want to ask, does the classroom still matter once you've made it?
We go to school so that we can get an education to make a living. I'm making a living. Why do I need school? Completely, I'm opposed against the motion. I don't
people say that there are some rooms you cannot access without certain qualifications. So what if it doesn't matter, your money can buy those access?
Yes, the money, they too, the money cannot, my room, they cannot enter.
Okay, I didn't see that coming. All right. Okay. Oligwenga George, let me hear from you.
It's interesting. Well, since both of them, you know, have both opposed and supported.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to pick it from the middle.
No, I don't want you to be in the middle. It's the angle.
Don't worry. It's the angle, this middle angle is also fine.
Okay.
All right? So, because first of all, you know, when I saw the topic, it's interesting that it's been clarified now, you know, that we are talking about financial success. You know, I just thought it was success before. So I was going to come here to say, okay, how do we actually define success? What is success? What does it mean, you know, for an individual? What does it mean? Who is talking? And what is he referring to by success? So, and, you know,
part of the question I was going to ask is, what is success?
Yeah, so the best description, you know, that I think resonates while I was coming is the one that our man of God gave. You know, he says success is imparting the word with the goodness of your personality. You know, I think it's one of the most profound ways of success. And if you look at it from that angle, you would realize that sometimes it's not really about acquiring this or that. It is actually about being able to make significant impact, you know, on people, on circumstances, on situations, and what have you. But since we have clarified that we are referring especially to financial success, I think I would rather say, you know, I'm on Jude's side somehow, really, that because if you have made money, excuse you, and we say he just made it so succinct. Say you go to school so that you can become successful, right? And then you have now achieved that success without going to school. What is now the importance of that school? However, because learning is a lifelong skill, you know, the kind of education that a person that has made money needs may not necessarily not be one that has to be done in the classroom, except for the fact that we are just contextualizing it to a Nigeria or African setting where paper really does matter much more than value, you know, where people, you know, go scrambling to gather papers to achieve nothing because, sorry, you know, but we've had a lot of people with thousands of certifications, you know, piled up without any significant impact on society. So if you are looking at it from that angle, I would say, if you have made money, what are you going to look for? Maybe all that you need to learn in terms of education will be what it takes for you to keep your money and to keep earning more. Any other education outside that one, I don't think it's necessary.
Gifty, hearing what the men are saying is more like real-world success proves the classroom is optional.
I still stand on my ground, and I would like to say that, you know, money isn't the same as mastery. You know, while being financially successful proves that you have actually figured out something for yourself, you know, means that you've built, you know, some kind of wealth. However, one thing we must know is that going back to the classroom really is not all about chasing certificates. You know, I did state and I said it's rather about deepening your understanding. It's about avoiding costly mistakes, and it's about sharpening decision making. So it's not only basically about just going into the four walls of the classroom, having to sit with people who are younger than you, you know, starting to learn more knowledge. You know, in the course of this, I'll also list out, we have prominent people in our world today who are wealthy, who are financially successful, and yet they went back, you know, one way or the other into learning, into developing themselves, and into building more and expanding their world. So yeah, I still stand on my ground.
You said something, avoiding costly mistakes.
A lot of wealthy people tend to lose money, you know, because they actually stop learning, or because they don't they don't grow themselves, they don't expand themselves. You said something earlier that there are certain rooms and places where these people, they might feel that yes, they have the money, but there are places where, because at some point you want to meet with prominent people like yourself. You want to go into global rooms or you know, conferences where you want to meet with like minds like you, or you want to learn from people who are bigger than you in that field. Are you going to send graduates to, you know, places like that where they're going to disclose secrets to your businesses? No. So you're learning, you're not having a deep understanding of that can make you have costly mistakes with your business. You know, you also bring in people on board. Mind you, this is not their business. You're not even related to them in any way. There is a probability that they would cheat you. They would cheat you, they would ruin your business for you, because why? It's not their father's legacy. It's not their business. They're only being paid. And so when they're tired of the job, they can opt and leave. So I still stand my ground on what I was saying earlier.
Do you have a response to that? Because we have countless examples of individuals who have achieved financial success and professional success without actually completing a formal education. And of course, they are not just entering rooms, they are creating rooms in that regard.
So, well, that's why I said it's called formal education. And formal education was not a thing until the 19th century, I mean the 18th century. It was because of industrialization. The thing is that people prior to then, it's not like there wasn't education, but it was specialized education. It was either you were studying to be a scholar, or you were studying to be a healer, or you were studying to be a scribe, or you know, it was always, or a king. You were studying to be a king or a ruler or something. But now, when the Industrial Revolution took over, we needed workers to work in factories, right? So, and we needed to spread education in mass. So the curated system of structured learning, because now everybody had to have the same knowledge in a large scale so that they can use it when it's time to work in those industrial organizations. That's why that education was created at the point. I'm not averse to learning. I'm averse to going back to a system that has kept us in bondage. So, I mean, that's why I said if I had already successfully escaped and become financially successful, formal education system has been created to create workers. So now, if you were able to transcend and go into a thinker, that formal education system no longer works for you. Even right now, doctors now are realizing that it was our man of God that exposed some of these things, right? But you can tell what the formal education did to doctors. They didn't allow them to think. So it was what was scribbled down in an educational system that they followed, and they became indoctrinated, and they started to practice it.
But we can also change the fact that we have doctors who are actually saving lives and doing the right things. Now, if there was no form of formal education, how are we going to have the likes of doctors, lawyers, you know, those people that... Olubenga, let me hear from you.
That's a framing of the society, right? It's a society that some people projected in their minds and therefore created the systems that will produce it continuously. Okay. So, truly, I mean, he has just said it all. If you have achieved financial success, if we are made to see that at the end of it all, you know, it's for you to be able to stay independent and be able to determine, you know, what and how you do through, I mean, financial responsibility and ability, then why do you have to go and subject yourself? I think we have enough examples in today's world of people who we call outliers, people who have against the odd, you know, against the expected norm, who have gone against the expected norm and have achieved massive success for themselves that we can record. I mean, from recent days in the last 2 decades to 3 decades to 5 decades ago, we've had brand new industries start, and these industries now determine market values, they determine market prices, they even determine how products are being advertised, they determine what value is placed on a product and service. And you want to tell me that people like that should now go and sit down in a classroom? Who wants to teach them? I mean, you have actually asked a very serious question that shouldn't these people be the ones to be teaching, actually? But that's not their focus, really. Everybody's goal, you know, would be in that system, would be to protect what they have so that they can use it as power for negotiation, so that they can use it as power for creation in the society. So, and I think everyone should actually be like that. We should actually look to be outliers, you know, so that we can, if we think like that, moving away from that, what I call colonial mindset, because that's it. They try to colonize you to say that this is how education must be taught.
What do you mean colonial mindset?
Yes.
For example, you're speaking English right now, and you learned it in school, right? Growing up. Now, it's a part of colonization, so to speak. So are we going to speak against it in that sense? Because how are we able to communicate, to understand ourselves?
Before this education that we now go to school to learn came, there were forms of education in Africa, for example. Formal forms of education that impacted on how we ran government, that impacted on how we transacted businesses. I mean, we were formally organized. It was an imposition. You know, that's why it is colonization. You know, it was imposed on us that this is how you must do it because we have an agenda that you have to carry out.